Week 52. It's crazy. It doesn't feel real. In a way, it feels like it was yesterday. And in another way, it feels like it's been 5 years. It's been a hell of a journey. And I want to welcome all of you that are tuning in live now and will join the show over the next hour and a half to 2 hours. 52 weeks are not possible without you folks. It's just not. It's the inspiration. It's the reason I can love sports all I want. Luke can love sports all he wants. Without a fan base, without a following, none of it matters. So I want to take a moment again to thank all of you for following us, for tuning in, for commenting, for engaging on our posts on X, for sharing comments, all sorts of things that have made this possible to enjoy, to continue, and to make it 52 weeks. The average podcast lasts between 6 and 12 weeks. So we're pretty proud of 52 in 1 year. The very first show was actually September 4th of 2024. And the reason we're a little bit off is because I had to take a few weeks away because of, life throws some curveballs sometimes. And it was essentially 3 weeks, I believe, 3, maybe 4. Yeah, I think it was 4. And then we rejoined the show, but it's actually 52 weekly episodes, today being the 52nd. So what a ride it's been. We hope it's just the beginning of many, many more years. And for all of you, again, for all of you live, thank you. And for all of you that will see this on record, which we have a much larger following that watches our clips and after the fact recording, we thank you as well. So you'll notice that I'm riding solo today. So I'm going to need you guys' help to help me razz Luke quite a bit. Send in your comments here on the screen. Luke is noticeably absent today. He had some business to tend to in the state of Ohio. No, he's not trading out Lions fans. I promise you. He didn't become a Browns fan, but I believe he's in Ohio today taking care of some business. So we wish Luke well with what he's got going back, and we look forward what he's got going on, and we look forward to having him back next Saturday. So there's a lot to cover today, and I'll bounce around here a little bit, and I got to get used to this here because I'm used to sharing the screen with Luke, and now I'm just sharing it with you guys again. So we're going to go over a Lions fans. This is definitely for you, One Pride fans. Here we go, baby. A review of the Lions-Ravens from last week. We'll get into a Lions-Browns preview for this week. A whole bunch of topics that I've lined up there. The Lions review and next. This marks the 4th week, and I like to grade the Lions in a season of essentially 17 games. Used to be 16. 17 doesn't divide by 4 equally. So there's at the beginning of the year, we did parts of 4, 4, 4, and 5 to equal 17 weeks. So this is the 4th straight week playing Cleveland. So we'll talk about that. We'll review that, and then what's next coming up. The famous or infamous, we'll see how it plays out, my 5-year prediction. This is year 5 of the Lions going to the Super Bowl. Jackson Dart starts. It's another one of the bold predictions that I made that seems to be coming true. At least part of it's coming true. That all starts in motion as predicted this week. So we look forward to that. My top 5 quarterbacks after 3 weeks. The Detroit Tigers' epic collapse. It does not matter what happens from today forward. They have a magic number of 1. You cannot overstate the historic collapse and what it says deeper about the executive team and about the way that the club is being managed. So I'll dig into that just a little bit. And then I'm going to kind of take you behind the scenes of the last 52 weeks, how this all works, some of the dynamics behind the scenes that nobody ever sees. I haven't taken the time to do bloopers and things like that. It's just a lot to manage. It's a small operation trying to grow. So at some point in the future, we'll do some of that, but I'll actually verbally kind of walk you through and sometimes I would say it was comical for me, and I make fun of myself in the process. So I'll talk about that in the past 52 weeks, and then some really exciting plans coming up for the next 52 weeks. And I'll share a story from you on September 10th, the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated, what happened that morning in a message I received. So we'll get to all of that. So for starters, let's talk, and let me just get this screen out of here. I want to talk about the Lions and Ravens from this past Monday. I'm not going to get into it too long, as we're basically on the eve of the next game. I already came out earlier in the week. Follow us on X at PB Sports Talks with an S. That is the #1 place that all of our material goes. We were doing something with Patreon, but right now the biggest following and the biggest participation is going on X. It's basically becoming the largest platform in the world, and it has the most sports experts and just a bevy of fans. So that's the place to go. And you can see my breakdown of the Lions and what they did. So I'm not going to get into too much of the details. And I'm not one of these guys that's going to draw all the arrows and stuff. I'm just going to give you, and we're going to give you, real facts, bold predictions. No one controls this show. No one tells us what to say like an ESPN. We can just drive home topics and the real facts. We're not going to hide behind anything. We're not going to do any of that. We're just going to give it to you through a coach's lens and a former player's lens of Luke, and even mine as a former player, and just an uncanny ability to see things before they develop, which is become the trademark of our show. I'll get into that as well. So what an impressive victory by the Lions, 38-31 over the Ravens. They did pretty much anything that they wanted. They overwhelmed them in so many phases of the game. Obviously, you don't like to give up 31 points and need to clean some things up there. But by most people's standards, including Luke, I'm going to give him a little heat on this. He's a Lions fan first, but he's a Ravens fan, and he talked in the beginning of the year that they're the #1 or one of the top couple of 2-3 threats in the AFC. I don't agree. I think it's a very flawed team that is outdated. And John Harbaugh continues to let the game not only catch him, but pass him by. They are too conservative by nature. I still don't think that they trust Lamar Jackson as a full passing threat. The reasons are, I don't blame them for that. He is not your prototypical passer. He can do some things with his arm now that he couldn't do, say, 4 or 5 years ago. But he isn't your prototypical passer. He's not Justin Herbert, who has legs too, by the way, and can be mobile and run, and Josh Allen. He can't do the things that those guys can do. That's point blank, period. When you need a pass to be made, when you need him to carry the team on his back with his arm, he can't do it. People will point to, drops by Andrews and, other people on the team, but I don't buy it. And so a little bit disappointing to give up the 31. Obviously, Derrick Henry had the long run, I think 22 yards, but had 50 total on the game. That's pretty impressive. 22 of the 50 yards total over 4 quarters to Derrick Henry, a surefire Hall of Famer. 50 yards? That's a beautiful thing. The effort was terrific. You got to remember the last 4 games prior to that against Baltimore, in Baltimore, outscored 149-39. This was one of those games that we talked about this in last week's show. It was a must win. This was one more step in removing the old stench of the SOL Lions. And they're still erasing some of those things. And after you do something so wrong for 50, 60 years, it takes some time to erase that. And this was just one more thing. On the road, Monday night, Baltimore needed to win as much as we did. Don't kid yourself. They have not played well. They were half asleep for half of the game against Cleveland. And we could do pretty much anything we wanted. And again, for all of you Bear fans, and I talk a lot with the Bear fans, Ben Johnson was not on our sideline. Once again, he was not. I see you, Luke. Luke says at 10:09 here, this might be the best Lions team we've ever seen. Yeah, no kidding, Luke. I'm going to get into that in a minute. But where was I? Oh, yeah, Ben Johnson was not on the Lions sidelines. Isn't that amazing? He had nothing to do with the game plan. He had nothing to do with the outcome. And people think that, or thought that we would lose him and that everything would go away. It hasn't. We might even be better because some of the scheme is the same, but they've made some changes. So, Derek Montgomery, I got to point this out. We knew this. This is not new news. What a valuable piece he is to all of this. And Jamal Williams, my gosh. Go back, what, 3 years? When Jamal Williams had a deal on the table and he chose to go to Green Bay, that didn't work out for him. It sure worked out for us. Derek Montgomery seems to have gotten better. His burst is it seems to be like there's a power boost button on a video game. He seems quicker. He's quicker through the hole. He's more elusive. He hasn't gotten any younger. He's starting to reach that age of a running back where you start to question, can they do that? And boy, was he on full display. The 1-2 punch, again, on full display in so many different ways that they can beat teams. And so that was on full display against Baltimore. Super, super happy with that. I think they were too. It puts them at 2-1 going into this week, which was key. I had them losing, actually. If I'm being honest, in the preseason, I had them losing prior to the season. I had them losing to Baltimore, but I had them beating Green Bay. So we flipped those, and so they're 2-1 going into this Browns game, which I had them ultimately being 3-1 after the critical quarter pole, we'll say, after the first 4-game stage. So we're in a great position off of that win, but a short week. I'm not a big believer in the short weeks, guys and gals. I'm just not. Everybody has to go through it. And the most mentally prepared are the ones who can handle it. The ones with the depth can handle it. The ones who are structured as an organization to not think about those types of things and be mentally tougher than what that can present is the Lions by definition. So I don't think we'll see that. I don't even think we'll see a slow start per se coming off Monday night. But at home against the Browns, as we go into the Browns preview, the Browns have surprised some people. And I talked to a lot of people in Cleveland too, probably the most in Ohio of all places where Luke is at. I don't talk to anybody in the country more than Ohio. And there's a lot of reasons why, Shedeur Sanders being one of them. But I've built a following because of the Shedeur Sanders prediction that has kind of put us on the map and helped our growth. They're getting a little bit excited over there, not about their offense, but about their defense. Myles Garrett, Mason Graham, Michigan guy. I was huge on him pre-draft. I wanted the Raiders to take him at 6. He wasn't there at 6 because the Browns took him at 4. But him, along with Myles Garrett, along with a number of other players, including Denzel Ward, make that defense very formidable. And former Lions coach Jim Schwartz was always cut out to be a D coordinator, not a head coach. And he's got that team playing pretty well. So there's already some verbal jabs going on from Morton, coordinator for Detroit, and Jim Schwartz a little bit for Cleveland. And Morton says he hasn't, they haven't seen an offense like ours, which is true. I wouldn't necessarily say that. There's no reason to give bulletin board material. I know that's an old phrase and showing my age again, but there's no reason to even do that. Let your merits, let your performance speak for it. Then after the fact, you want to throw a couple daggers, go ahead. But don't take this team lightly. Seriously, don't take the team lightly. They've got some weapons offensively too. Fannin, who I watched a lot in college as a tight end, is nice for them. Njoku is nice for them. Jerry Jeudy is a different player than he once was. Dylan Sampson in the backfield. Quinshon Judkins. Joe Flacco can still beat you at his old accelerated age of 40. He can still do some things and is just a hell of a deep thrower still. The guy could still sling it. He's very smart. He made some mistakes last week. Ultimately, they got the win on a field goal of all things, which people in Cleveland have been very upset about. Missed extra points, missed field goals. Kicking has been very bad for them. It came up big for them last week. So don't take this team lightly. You can't. And not in the NFL, not any week. It doesn't matter who it is. People say Cleveland is, and we even said it, to be fully transparent. Luke and I said it, and we looked at the schedule prior to the year. We looked at Game 4 in Cleveland. You say, "Oh, we got to circle that as a win." Well, and I said it though in that show. Is there really a guaranteed win in the NFL? It doesn't matter. You're playing the Jets, you're playing the Browns, you're playing Arizona. I'm not a believer of them, and they showed again why the other night. Some of the lower teams, it's just hard. Even the Cowboys, who I actually think are one of the worst dysfunctional franchises and teams in the NFL, they still have a little bit of identity on offense, and they can beat you offensively. Horrific on defense. You could score 40, but they could score 43. CD Lamb's down now, so that's not going to happen. But you get my point. There is no free gimmies. It's just not. And this is not either. So I would expect the Lions to come out and impose their will immediately. And that's the thing about the Lions, folks. And there's more and more of you tuning in, and thank you again for tuning in. We really appreciate you. This again is our 52nd show. It's our 1-year anniversary. My co-host Luke had some previous engagement in the state of Ohio to take care of today, so we missed Luke today. He'll return next week. Thank you for joining us, and again, all of you who see this on recording. I think that the Lions will impose their will from Jump Street again. Dictate tempo and take control of the game early by, again, imposing your will by running two different style backs, terrific play action game. You've got weapons all over the field, and you let them speak. What let them perform and let them speak in action, and then convert that into points. What I would expect defensively from the Lions is a ramp up in pressure. Here's why. Joe Flacco's not a mobile quarterback, and Cleveland has limitations offensively. When you see something, so to say, on the dinner table like this, you got to go eat. You have to go after him. You've got to put pressure on him. And I think you're going to see more blitz packages and more pressure schematically in this game to take Flacco off his spot, get him rattled early, get the crowd into it, and take advantage of some of the deficiencies that they have as a team, right? Play to your strengths and expose the other team's weaknesses. And I think that Cleveland has some of those, and the Lions will, especially at home, that is a big deal. And then you get the crowd behind you, you get the momentum, you get the vibe going, and you just go and you let them know who you are and where you're playing and what is allowed and what's not allowed. That sounds bravado, but that's sports, folks. As a coach, I can tell you that can rip the heart and the momentum out of the other team. As a coach, at every level, at every team that I ever coached, that is precisely what I was looking to do, and our staff was looking to do with our teams, was to impose our will and instantaneously show the other team what you're made of. And then you start to break them down mentally. And then over the course of the game, the physical part starts to come, but mental is always first. I talk about this relentlessly. The mental aspect of sports is underrated. It is as much, if not more than 50% of the reason why teams are successful. Mental clarity, mental preparation, mental fortitude comes first. Then the athletic ability and the athletic chemistry or makings of a team comes through after that. And the Lions are, still amazing to say this in the 5th year here, the Lions are the poster team for that. And Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes are at the helm of that. And I think we're going to see that again tomorrow from jump. And I think Cleveland will know right away who they're playing and what they're up against. And I think you will see, I don't think you'll see a nip and tuck game, super close like last week's Browns-Packers game. I mean, Cleveland was either ahead or in it. Obviously, the whole game was at 13-10. You're not going to see Cleveland hold Detroit to 13 points. I'll go on. It's not a bold prediction, right? I'm known for those, and the list is getting long. I mean, you want to call this one? I don't think it is. I'll let somebody else. I'll do here. Well, let's have some fun. If Cleveland holds the Lions to 13 points or less, I will be the co-host next week. And somebody out there, you can send me a message and inquire or show your interest about hosting the show, and I'll step aside and I'll be the second fiddle. No problem. The Lions will score much more than 13 points tomorrow. I'm pretty confident in saying that. So looking forward to the game. I do believe that the Lions, I'll get into the picks a little later on, but I do believe the Lions win this game. I believe I'll look at it in a minute. I think they're 8.5 point favorites or 7.5 point favorites. Not too far from what I believe. It's probably a 10 to 13 point difference here. And it could get out of hand and could get ugly because, Cleveland would have to play an absolutely perfect defensive game, and the Lions would have to help them turnover wise. I mean, you create turnovers as a defense, but the Lions would have to be off their game, asleep at the wheel, and contribute to Cleveland's performance defensively because they won't be able to hold up offensively, even though I still think that the Lions defense is a bit suspect, is a bit vulnerable against the right teams. This, however, is a matchup problem for Cleveland and a matchup bonus or a matchup win for the Lions because there's things that they can do that can exploit Cleveland's defense and can get rid of the ball quickly. And, Garrett's probably going to get his. Graham's going to get some pressure. Their terrific linebacker will do some things, but I think the Lions can offset that in many different ways. All right. So Lions win that game. Sorry, Cleveland fans. Roberto, sorry about that, buddy. All right, let's pop this back up on the screen here. Come on now. All right, so the Lions review and what's next. I touched on that a little bit. They're 3-1, and the next 4 weeks. Let me pull out my little handy dandy little list here. After tomorrow, which marks game 4, and I see them at 3-1 after that game. You then go Bengals, which are in trouble without Burrow and got blasted 48-10 last week. The Bengals and then the Chiefs, who get Worthy back this week. And I don't think, Rice is not back by then. I don't believe Rashee Rice. But the Chiefs will be formidable. They still continue to do things, and they were impressive last week. Then the Bucs, Tampa Bay Bucs, who now are down Mike Evans, but they have Emeka Egbuka now, and he's helping them. And then the Lions go into a bye, and then the Vikings right after the bye. So Bengals, Chiefs, Bucs, bye, and then the Vikings. That's tough. And we knew it. We knew it going into the season. Lions had the number 2 or 3, second or third most difficult schedule in the NFL. And that is on display. The Bengals, I'm not going to go through it and make the picks. We've already done that, or we'll do that, week to week. But they can get through this, have the ability. Again, it doesn't matter if you're with a team like this with the Lions. It doesn't matter if you're playing at home or on the road. You can pick your poison with the Lions. They can beat you passing. They can beat you running. They can do things defensively, even though I think that that's the weakest part of their team. I think Quadin Mohammed, who we saw last week, will help them immensely getting pressure from the other side. He's extremely active around Thanksgiving-ish, which, what are we, 2 months away? Maybe a little less than 2 months away. Aleem McNeil should be back. And as Tyrell Williams and others, continue to develop, I think that the Lions will improve defensively. And with Shepard putting his stamp on the team, I think we'll see that come true. All right. So for those of you who are tuning in that are not familiar with my background or familiar with kind of what separates this show, and I'll touch on that in a minute as I recap the last 52 weeks. But 5 seasons ago, technically it's 4 seasons ago, and now this is the 5th season. Man, did I take some heat. So this is shortly after Dan Campbell got hired, about 3 weeks after he got hired, when he said, not the we're going to bite your kneecaps comment, but when a reporter asked him What are your thoughts about the talk around Detroit for the last however many years about the same old Lions? And for those of you who don't know what that means, it was short for SOL was short for same old Lions. And he very matter-of-factly and intensely said, I do not want to hear that shit around here anymore. It is at that moment, on top of the fact that I knew he came highly recommended from Sean Payton. He had interim head coaching stops with New Orleans and with Miami, and he was regarded as one of the best younger up and coming head coaches to be. He had a lot of endorsements around the league, so I had already known that. And again, the bite the kneecaps. I know, he's a emotional guy, former player, tough, gritty, that kind of guy. But I immediately knew that he wanted and had a plan to change the environment and the culture. On top of that, I had followed Brad Holmes' career when he was with Minnesota, and the fact that he was responsible for drafting Jared Goff. He was responsible for Michael Brockers, Aaron Donald, and the construction of that team. He was the main guy under Les Snead. So I was, because I'm a dork and I follow sports, so much, even prior to doing what I do now, I knew all of that. And then I knew that they wanted to get Stafford out and did get Stafford out. And I knew that we were starting to see, or at least at that time, I felt like we were starting to see a changing of the guard and a complete culture shift. The hiring of Spielman, the changing of, managing owner with Sheila, and what was being said, it embedded right into me. And I said, this is it. And so I boldly went out, and boy, did I get crushed. I mean, I even lost a friend on Facebook over the debate about this, because he continued to say the SOL, and I was adamant against SOL. And then they had the struggle for the first year or two, 3-13, 9-7. Nothing has changed. Yes. Again, as a coach, I was no Hall of Fame coach or anything like this. It's nothing like that. I don't want to come off wrong in any way. It doesn't matter what level you're at. I won 7 championships as a coach, and there's a reason and a way that you have to conduct things, and you have to build a culture and change an environment in order for that to happen. Where I had the most success as a coach, they hadn't won in 11 years at that level, at the level that we won at. They had it 10 or 11 years. And now the banner hangs in the gym, and it will hang in the gym forever, that our team put the stamp on the entire state of Michigan and the CYO of that. And I get very animated and very passionate about these types of topics, because even at a smaller level, I understand what it takes to turn around something. And as a longtime entrepreneur, I understand what it takes to start something from scratch and build it, or even in the process, rebuild and adjust or pivot in motion. And that's what Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, after so many people tried, that's what they were tasked with doing. It was turn this around, and you got 60 years of holy smokes, this is bad stuff. It's as bad as it can be. It's inventing ways to lose. It's inventing ways to be horrible. Thanksgiving game was talked about being removed. Just really, really bad. And so I saw and anticipated the makings of that change, because finally it wasn't Matt Patricia. It wasn't Dan Quinn. It wasn't Marinelli. It wasn't all these guys that either didn't have the experience or any credibility behind them. And Campbell didn't have like major head coaching experience. And it was the first full-blown GM job for Brad Holmes. But where they learned and who they learned under was nothing short of spectacular. Sean Payton, I mean, guy won a Super Bowl in New Orleans, had perennial strong teams. Now he's in Denver, and he's building it again around Bo Nix, a lot like Drew Brees. So I could see that in Dan Campbell. I could see that in Brad Holmes. I could see that in Sheila. I knew about Spielman. Um, and you saw it start to develop, and you saw it after year 1 into 2 into 3 4, and now we're at 5. So as is always seems to be the case with me, is like I always take the hard route sometimes in life. And now in year 5, no more years left. This is it. I either got egg on my face or I look like Paul Stradamus over here, is against the toughest schedule. And the way they started out, and everybody freaking out and jumping off the train and panic in Motown and all this type of stuff. And I'm holding true to it. I'm not budging. I'm not budging off of this. And I still think that they can do this. And I still think they're going to do this. But aside from catastrophic injuries, again, like they had last year, which, in fairness, though we basically set the record, the Lions basically set the record for the most injuries to one side of the ball, defense, 22 on injured reserve. I don't think that's going to happen again. Though you see Aleem McNeil's there, it doesn't take long and things can change fast. But I'm holding true to that prediction. So as we go forward here with the Lions, I expect to see the very best of this team. And one of the things that though it's year 5 and this is the last year that they can win and the prediction come true, it is almost a good thing that people jumped off. It is almost a good thing that it wasn't Lions, and oh my God, the Lions are a Super Bowl team like last year, and that first round bye and all of that. It's kind of back a little bit to the underdog status. And then it's amazing how the NFL can change from week to week, and how people's, feelings and predictions or opinions, how they change. Because after they lost to the Packers, it was not just panic in Detroit. It was nationally, the Lions window has closed, and oh my gosh, they have missed their chance. And boy, it was a nice run. And then they go out and they do what they did to Baltimore. And then it's like, the Lions are a Super Bowl contender. It's like, man, make up your mind, pick a side of the fence and stay on it. If the Lions were to lose this week against Cleveland, something crazy happens, I'm going to come out and say it. I suck and I was wrong. And they're 2-2, excuse me. And I'm not backing off on my prediction. So that's one of the things that makes us different, is I'm going to hold true to it. I'm going to admit when I'm wrong, and I'm going to admit when I was right. I was wrong about Aiden Hutchinson coming out of Michigan. Famously wrong. I didn't think he'd translate to the NFL. I was wrong. But we were also the only outlet in the world, the only, and we're really proud of this, and it started to put us on the map and started to get people interested in what we're doing, and I'll share that in a little bit, was accurately predicting Shedeur Sanders to be the 5th round draft pick for the Cleveland Browns. And we told on January 19th on video, famously, so glad that I had receipts for it, said he would be drafted in the 5th round, should not be drafted sooner. And I warned the Cleveland Browns to stay away from him. So as much as I'll say something when it happens, I'm going to say it, or we're going to say it when it doesn't happen. And we're going to be fair, and we're going to be honest, and we're going to be bold, and we're going to be straight. And when we F up, we call it. When we hit it, we call it. Sure, anybody who hits something is going to advertise that more versus not advertise it as much. But here we are all these years later, and I'm still admitting I was wrong about Aiden Hutchinson. And so that's not going to get them all right, but it's one of the things that differentiates ourselves. You come into a crowded space like that. I'll get to that in a little bit. You better have something different. You better be able to do something for people to want to even see what you have to say. You better bring something different to the table, because there's a lot of people doing this. So that was the 5-year prediction, and this is it. So another massive prediction, and I have a feeling this one's going to come true. And you can follow it. Again, you can see it. The videos are there. All the graphics are there. It revolves around Jackson Dart. On March 12th, I was on video pre-draft, and I said that without question, he will be the number 1 quarterback of the 2025 draft class. Yes, better than Cam Ward and any of the others, Will Howard or whoever else, Jalen Milroe, any of the others, that this was the guy. The day after the draft, I did another video. So that was March 12th, the 6 weeks or so before the draft. And then a day or two after the draft, I got more bold with it. And I started to say that, he was not only going to be the man, that he would be end up being the greatest quarterback. This is a little bit later, actually, that he'd be the greatest quarterback in Giants history, that he would be better than Eli Manning, that he would take the town by storm. Then right before the season, Luke and I did our Rookie of the Year predictions. This is all on video. It's all up on X. I had said that Jackson Dart was going to be my Rookie of the Year, even knowing that Brian Daboll was not starting him. In the video, I talked about it would be 6 weeks max that Russell Wilson would start, but likely it would be less, that Jackson Dart would become the starter. He is now the starter here in week 4, playing the Chargers, which is a hell of an opponent at home, but still a hell of a way to start against one of the best teams in the NFL. Jackson Dart is my guy. So we think, and I think, that this is going to come true, that he's going to take the world by storm. There's going to be a couple bumps here in the beginning, but barring injury, he will be the Rookie of the Year, and he will continue on. Again, barring, I always have to say that because crazy shit happens. J.J. McCarthy, before he ever took a snap in a game, blew his knee out. Here he is again in year 2, for his first year, injured again and out multiple weeks. Look at Joe Burrow, again injured, out 8-9 weeks. So barring injury, Jackson Dart will take New York by storm. He's got the weapons over there. The only thing that can hold Jackson Dart back at this time is Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll is 3 weeks too late. Shout out to Sean Salisbury on that. We're in lockstep agreement, and we go back and forth on this a little bit on X. Sean believes the same thing, that Daboll is 3 weeks behind. I do too. I talked in that video that there was absolutely nothing to gain and everything to lose, that why not start Jackson Dart on a clean slate? And I talked about you could be, if it was 6 weeks, because that's always the magic number. Let's give it 6 weeks. Like that 6 weeks is going to give a guy like this. And let me tell you something about this. There's 2 things that can get in his way. And I, to be fair, I say this about Shedeur Sanders. I said it about Shedeur Sanders, that the number 2 problems with Shedeur Sanders was 1, 3 problems. Him and his attitude. 2, his father. And then 3, the swag with which is too much. Dart has a lot of swag to him, and he's in New York, basically the biggest sports market in the world. He's got to pull some of that back a little bit. I hope it doesn't get in his way, but it's Brian Daboll that could get in his way. Schematically, the offense is just archaic. Now, Dart, and this is to Sean's point too, and mine, we agree, is the offense might have been tailored and a bit archaic because of what Russell Wilson can do and can't do. Now you bring in Jackson Dart, and he has the ability to do things that Russell Wilson used to be able to do, but can no longer do anymore. Jackson Dart has every single tool in his bag. He is an amazing leader. Let me just go through this again because I think that this is important. He is an amazing leader of men. He has the natural ability for people to follow him. He did this at Ole Miss, folks. He had Lane Kiffin training him. And a lot of people have a lot of things to say about Lane Kiffin. But Lane Kiffin was not easy on him. He challenged him. And I watched Jackson Dart a ton. Not as much as I had watched Cam Ward, but I watched Jackson a ton. Lane Kiffin was not easy. High expectations for him. And Lane is a good developer of college quarterbacks. There is no arguing that. And Jackson Dart is going to end up being his most famous, maybe ever, like future, even in the future, maybe the best ever. Jackson played in the SEC. He played in tough games. He can make every throw. He has a rocket arm. He's incredibly mobile. He can throw the ball. Look at his arm angle there. He can throw. He can drop down sidearm. He can throw over the top. He can throw from his right. He can throw from his left. He can throw on the run. He can run. He has an innate skill and intelligence for the game and of the game. He showed that in the SEC. And you look at a guy like Shedeur Sanders, who played much weaker competition, in my opinion, than Jackson Dart played at Ole Miss. That is only going to benefit him, make him more prepared for the NFL game. Now, again, he's young. He's a rookie. You know, Peyton Manning I think it's been rewritten, but Peyton Manning, when he came out in his first year, he set the record for interceptions for a rookie NFL quarterback. Not every guy comes out and, you know, lights the world on fire, so to say. I don't know if I like that phrase, but, you know, from a sports perspective, lights the world on fire. I think if anybody could ever do it, this guy can. And he has some pieces over there that are very, very, very good. Malik, you can start with Malik Nabers, and you can co-start with an amazing left tackle. Two things that a quarterback needs. They don't, I mean, Cam Skattebo is just getting, you know, on the scene here. I think Tracy is out now for multiple weeks. So it's going to be the Cam Skattebo show and the Jackson Dart show and the Malik Nabers show. So when you think about this, who would argue those three guys? Like, I wasn't a big Skattebo guy. I thought it was maybe a little bit too much hype in college, but, you know, he's not a burner. The guy's not a burner. But again, passion, toughness, intelligence, just hit the hole and go. He has that ability. It's like an Anzalone for the Lions at linebacker, Jack Campbell at linebacker. These aren't prototypical measurable guys at the NFL level, but they are football players. And certain guys can play a game faster. Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's a full 0.2 of a second in the 40 time behind Ja'Marr Chase. Who would you want more right now? Ja'Marr Chase or Amon-Ra St. Brown? I think it's universal now that it's Amon-Ra St. Brown. He can do everything, and he's an extraordinary blocker. And his game speed and quickness in space is off the charts. So got to be careful to say that Cam Skattebo doesn't have the speed. He's got game speed. He's got game day speed. He's got football speed. And how many guys have we seen? You know, Chris Johnson had a great career. Okay, fine. There's a lot of guys that possess world-class speed, but don't possess world-class work ethic or intelligence or football IQ. I think Cam Skattebo has that. So Nabers and Skattebo and Dart and Slayton and Wan'Dale Robinson, he's got some guys over there. If Dable can open things up and don't start this guy out too slow, don't play ultra conservative with him. Let him make mistakes. It's okay. You're 0-3. You made sure that you were going to be 0-3 by starting Russell Wilson. Horrible mistake. Like, I was on record. Don't let the guy start without a clean slate. Let him start 0-0. 0-0. Let him be the first guy. They didn't do it. I talked about, what if they go 0-1, 0-2, 0-3, or 1-1, 1-2, 1-3, 1-4, even if they were 2-1 or 2-2, and you bring him in. Why? Let him start it. You drafted him to be the man. Let him be the man. You're going to let him wait till next year. You're going to let him wait 6 weeks, 8 weeks. Why? Why did you? But I just got to say this. Who's the head coach of the New York Giants? Sorry, Brian, I'm going to give you some shit here. Why are you going to ownership to discuss who the quarterback should be? I mean, that is a red flag amongst red flags amongst red flags. If the family is not allowing Brian Dable to coach the team in the way that he needs to coach the team, then don't have the man as your head coach if you don't believe in him. That's the head coach's decision. And the minute your team knows that you have to go or are speaking to ownership about who the quarterback should be, you know, there's an instant feeling of who is really in charge. Be the leader of the team. Take command. And if you don't have the ability to pick who your quarterback should be when you want that quarterback to be, like, let's say he wanted Dart and ownership overruled that, then maybe you should think about going someplace else. Because why would you want to coach there? Because you're not the head coach. Somebody else is. You're like a Jason Garrett. You're like a Brian Schottenheimer. You're a coach by title only. I don't know for sure if that's the case here. I don't want to say that. But the fact that he went and talked to ownership about it is a problem, and it set the team back. You set the team back 3 weeks. Now you're going to start in the fourth week against the Chargers, I mean, you made it harder for the guy. You did do it on a week that was at home, so that's a good thing. Better to start him at home than on the road, but that can have the adverse effect too. The pressure of performing at home, they're both tough. Play the Chargers, in L.A., or you play them, at home. There's pressure both ways, but that was a gaffe, in my opinion. Should have started him from day one. So, rookie of the year, best quarterback of the draft. That one is on deck here for Jackson Dart. And I'll be excited to watch that tomorrow and see how he performs. Again, I think he'll have his moments where he doesn't look very good and he looks like a rookie. That's just inevitable for anybody. And he will make mistakes. But dude has swagger, and dude has the ability to put that behind him. He wears it on his sleeve a lot. If you watch him in a game, I believe it was against Alabama, he kept throwing an interception. They were trying to come from behind. They kept coming back. Then he'd make a key turnover. Then Ole Miss defense would make a big stop. He'd get the ball back. Man, was he upset on the sidelines. That can have too much effect and go the other way, and you're too negative about it. But you love to see a player, kind of like Derrick Henry on Monday night, so upset on the sidelines, so bothered by he fumbled again. It was the same thing with Jackson Dart. He threw what was his, I believe, third interception, and he was so upset. If you see a guy, there's very few guys like a Jaden Daniels that basically show no emotion. If you see a guy that looks like there's a tornado right next to him and he's not moving, you might want to question that. There's just like a handful of, Barry Sanders would be one, a handful of people in history that just show zero emotion, but they're vested. You have no question whatsoever to understand or to know that Jackson Dart is dialed in and he cares, maybe too much, but he cares and he's going to give it his best, and I can't wait to see it. So next one up here, PB's top 5 quarterbacks after 3 weeks. I didn't even make a list. I'll be honest with you. That's another thing. I'm always going to be transparent. Oh, we're going to fake it like we did it. I didn't have time to actually list out the quarterbacks. So I'm just going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to just say what I have said, a lot of what I have said in the past in terms of quarterbacks. 2 days before the 2024 NFL Draft, also on video on X at PB Sports Talks with an S on the end. In that video, and I had already known it, but it was the first time I made it public, is I said that Justin Herbert was a Hall of Famer, again, barring injury, that he was a Hall of Famer right now. I had some concerns about Harbaugh coming in, dumb down the system, which is exactly what he did last year. He came in, he dumbed down the system because that's what Jim Harbaugh does. And he kind of tore it down a little bit and broke it up. And now they're opening it back up a little bit. And the marriage is one that's very, very strong. It's very difficult to not put Justin Herbert in the top 3. And you can argue 1, you can argue 2. So I'm going to say right now the top 3. Josh Allen is 1. He's overtaken Mahomes. He's a freak. He's just a freak, folks. There's just no way to no other way in the world to say this. He can do everything, and boy, it's hard, very, very hard to not envision them representing the AFC in the Super Bowl this year. And they've got some weapons developing over there too, and he hasn't had a ton of them. Let's just be honest. He has not had a ton of guys. He's done it with everybody. He's done it against, he hasn't done it against KC because he can't get over. They haven't been able to get over the hump against KC, but KC has been loaded for years. And I would say that Buffalo has not been loaded, and they've been in it, and they've had these amazing games against Kansas City in large part because of Josh Allen and his just freakish ability. So I got him at 1. I have got to have Mahomes at 2, and it was impressive what he did this past week. So Mahomes at 2. We'll say Justin Herbert at 3. It's very, very, it's not Lamar Jackson, folks. So if you were waiting for me to say that, it's not Lamar Jackson. He isn't even in the conversation for me, in my opinion. Number 4, and you can't say Joe Burrow either. Number 4, you really have to have the conversation about Jalen Hurts, top performer. You can't argue his results. So that's 4. And then this may surprise some people. I think you have to talk about Jared Goff at 5. It's not, folks. People, for some reason, and I'm telling you this as somebody, though I live in Florida now for the last 7 months full time, my entire life was spent in Detroit for the first 19 years of my life, and then in the suburbs of Detroit, 15 to 20 miles north of 8 Mile. Everybody's heard of 8 Mile. Thanks, Eminem. For some reason, people won't give Jared Goff his due. Numbers and statistics and data, they don't lie. Sometimes they can be misleading, but the guy continues to do it. You can say he's in a system, but you can also say Jalen Hurts is in a system. There's a lot of guys you can say is in a system. And any quarterback's better with talent around him. Unless you're a freak of nature like Josh Allen, you don't historically have the best talent. Or like a guy like Tom Brady. Yeah, he had Randy Moss for a period of time. Yes, he had Gronkowski for a period of time. Yes, he had Aaron Hernandez for a part of the time. But David Patton, David Givens, Troy Brown, Wes Welker was never anything without Manning or Brady. Julian Edelman would have never been the same guy without Brady. And a whole list of other, Deion Branch and a whole bunch of other basically guys that when they moved on, they were nothing, literally nothing. So you cannot argue Jared Goff's completion percentage, his moxie, that's an old word. I'm dating myself again. His leadership ability, his ability to make big throws. He's put to bed that he can't play against tough teams, that he can't play on the road, that he can't play in cold, what he did in St. Louis. And let's not forget, folks, he went to the Super Bowl for the Rams. Like, you want to give Sean McVay all the credit for that? You want to give Aaron Donald all the credit for that? I don't know about that. Did they lose 13-3 in the Super Bowl to the Patriots? Yes, they did. A lot of teams would have lost 13-3 to the Patriots in that Super Bowl. So, he has the experience. He's been there before. He's been on 2 different teams. He was no longer wanted by one team, accepted with open arms by another, has performed at an extraordinary level, like a Hall of Fame level, folks. And I have never spoken about Jared Goff in the top 5 like today. I just think it's just, for a lot of people, they've already done that. I was not one of them. I am now. And this past week, Monday, or this past game, got me over that hump. He's doing it, folks, against the greatest of teams in any circumstance. Look at the San Francisco NFC Championship game a couple of years ago. You're gonna blame that on him? People are going to say, oh, look at I almost said the Redskins. Look at the Washington game this past year. He's responsible for it. No, he's not. They couldn't stop anybody. And he was forcing things because he had to force things, and you knew you had to score 40. And there's a lot of dynamics there. This guy wins the games that he's supposed to win, and he can now say that he's winning the games that either he's not supposed to or that people don't think he's supposed to. And to me, that's a big indicator, as well as home and away. And he can make the long throws. Here's another thing, and this is defining for any athlete in any sport, in my opinion, is who can step up in the biggest moments and make the plays, the shot, the throw, the kick, whatever it is. People want to give Dan Campbell, and rightfully so, want to give Dan Campbell all the props for that 4th down call against Baltimore. Folks, and this is all on X2. You can look it up. I actually did a diagram with arrows. It isn't just the call. That's what it starts with. And it starts with trust from your coach to your quarterback, offensive line, receivers, all of it. But you make that throw in that moment against that team on the road, laying it in there perfectly to Amon-Ra St. Brown. Not every quarterback can make that throw. They just can't do it. And there are some that can make that throw at other stages of a game. Not with, I got the chills right now, not with everything riding, not on 4th and what was it, 2, 3? It's you underthrow, overthrow, just off a little bit with that throw and turnover on downs. The outcome could be totally different. So when Dan Campbell says, that's my guy, I got my guy, that's what he's talking about. And Luke was this guy for me when he played for me. There is a certain trust that you have with your best player or one of your best players that you can put them in any situation, and it's not going to work out 100% every time. But Luke was my guy, and I had the ball in Luke's hands when we needed it most, because more times than not, he was going to deliver in the moment, regardless of the moment. And Luke's a lot like Jared Goff. Emotional, and you push him, he'll get in your face. But had a almost a type B personality, laid back, where basically the moment wasn't too big for him. And that's what I see in Jared Goff, and I cannot look the other way anymore, because he has that ability in that moment. While everything's riding and 52 other guys and a city and a coaching staff and fan base and everybody's watching. And he knows if he overthrows that ball, he's being skewered. To know that you carry that much pressure and they're coming out like freaking leeching bloodsuckers if he overthrows or underthrows or throws a pick or throws it in the ground or throws a wobbly duck or whatever. It's a certain breed of person that can take that and make that. Michael Jordan said it famously, and I've missed 9,000 whatever shots. I was always willing to take the next one. Luke and I talked about that all the time. As a pretty solid shooter in my day, I didn't care if I missed. I was always going to take that next shot. There was nothing that would get in my way of taking that next shot. Not to the point where it would hurt the team, but you have to be willing to step up to that moment. And Jared Goff is that guy. And Jared Goff is such a unique. I'm on a Jared Goff kick right now because I haven't given the guy enough credit, if I'm being honest. Jared Goff is one of those guys that got to the crescendo, got to the Super Bowl, came up short. His coach didn't want him anymore. And his coach wanted the guy that he was traded for and didn't want him anymore. You want to talk about your confidence could be at an all-time high as a young quarterback and go in the tank overnight, and the struggle that you go through that. Again, I go back to the mental aspect and the mental approach and the mental clarity and the mental toughness. Certain players have it, certain players don't. Jared Goff clearly 100% has it. He's been through it, folks. And those moments made him stronger. And he did what he needed to do to help that get stronger. And you see that now week in and week out. There is basically no quarterback for my team that I grew up loving and still love and in my heart forever. I don't think I'd want any other person. Why would I want any other person when I have something extraordinary? It's time that the whole world gives Jared Goff his props. So let's go back. Josh Allen, 1. Patrick Mahomes, 2. Justin Herbert, 3. Jalen Hurts, 4. Jared Goff, 5. It's not Joe Burrow. It's not Lamar Jackson. It's not Jaden Daniels. It's not C.J. Stroud or Jordan Love. And I'm a big fan of Jordan Love. Baker Mayfield was just on the outs. And Luke, if he's hearing this right now, I'm not sure if he is. He's jumping up and down because that's his guy. He loves Baker Mayfield. You want to talk about a guy who lost it all and let his ego and attitude, which was not good, take over, and then nobody wanted him? And look at what he's doing now. Man, you got to respect that. We don't always get it right at first, but when we do, or when you watch these guys do it, it's easy to root for somebody like that. So those are my top 5 quarterbacks. All right, switching gears for just a moment. Generally, we don't talk much about baseball. I just think it's a boring sport. It's no longer America's pastime. It takes way too long. It's too deliberate. The sport is run, I think, really poorly. There's a lot of things wrong with it. So I don't really get into it as much anymore. But obviously, I am from Detroit. The Tigers are a massive topic of conversation and was throughout the year for the right reasons. And now it's not. It's for the wrong reasons. They've had a historic collapse. And again, I'm going to go back to the mental side of this. And this is another prediction that I ended up being right. On August 10th, I said it was over for the Tigers. And it looks like I might be right. We'll see. But I said that this is on, I posted it, reposted it a couple days ago. On August 10th, I said, expect the slide to continue, that AJ Hinch was the reason that they were, I believe, 25 or 26 games over 500 at one time of the year, that it was mostly made up of a team of 4A ball players. And for those that aren't familiar with that term, you have single A, double A, triple A, and then the majors. And the guys who are tweeners, say between AAA and the majors, are often referred to as 4A ball players. Maybe too good for AAA, but on the border or on the fringe of being good enough for the majors. So I think that they're largely comprised of guys who are very much on that fringe. And the coaching of AJ Hinch has, throughout the year, 170 days, I think it was, they were in first place. And just until, whatever it was, 4 days ago is when they lost first place for the first time all year long. I believe AJ Hinch was the reason for that. Now, you can also say that AJ Hinch might be part of the reason for the slide. He's clearly part of the reason. But it doesn't matter. They have a one-game, magic number's one game. So any combination of them winning or Houston losing, they're in the playoffs. If you ever heard boop, 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 that's a truck. Sorry about that. I had to. That's a truck backing into the playoffs. Now, there's been times in the past where teams and in different sports have backed in like that, and then they go on a crazy run. I don't see that with this team. There's fundamental problems with this team. It's at the batting level, and it's at the pitching level. I do not believe it's at the coaching level. I believe AJ Hinch is the right coach, though he should take some heat for this. Management biffed. They biffed on this. Those of you who follow my show know I don't believe in windows of winning or windows of opportunity in any sport. If you are a properly run organization, there is never a window that per se opens, and there's never a window that per se closes. Baseball is a little bit different because there's so much money involved and there's no cap involved. Like football has a cap, baseball doesn't have a cap. So teams can outspend and take players. And so you can go from being really good to medium, middle of the road to really bad really quick if you're not willing to spend the money, or you just can't spend the money. So there is a window here where you have the best pitcher in baseball. You have arguably the best coach in baseball. You were 26 games above 500, and you had 15 and a half game lead. Yep, 26 games over 500 and a 15 and a half game lead. You're now 12 games over 500, and you have no lead. You're tied for first place with Cleveland. And had Cleveland not lost last night, and say they had won, you'd be behind a game. And the Astros lost, which helped them. So what I would say is that this is not a good thing for the Tigers if they should make it in. And I would expect a relatively quick exit because it's not going to magically turn around. There's some flaws there, and I could be wrong. And I'm not going to make some bold prediction, but one of the Detroit broadcasters said he can understand that I'm not going to mention his name. I don't really follow him anymore, but I saw a clip online, and I actually agree with him on this, where he said he could see that people would be upset and root for the Tigers to lose. I happen to be I happen to be Detroit in that line that I am hoping that they lose so that maybe a lesson is learned, because Greenberg, the general manager, and Scott Harris, the president of baseball operations, I thought were extremely maniacs about how they handled this. I didn't like their comments and what they said. I think they're trying to play Moneyball to a large degree, and I don't know if Moneyball can win. You could argue it got them that lead, but you can also argue that that lead went away for the same reasons, because you were dependent on guys that, you know, Kerry Carpenter and these guys. I mean, come on, let's be real. And you cannot expect one pitcher to go out and stop, you know, and be Justin Verlander, all the time, and just, you know, be the stopper every single 5 days. They got too reliant on that. And I think he had, what, 10 or so no decisions. You can't even give the guy the run support that he needs. So if I'm a Tiger fan, which I am, but I'm not like what I once was, just because baseball just doesn't do it for me anymore. I'm just a football guy and a basketball guy. You know, I feel sorry for those people, and I see them. They just go up and down with the Tigers every day, and everybody was going crazy. And I said it early on, you guys better watch out. I think that this is going to catch up, and it did. So we'll see what happens in the next. Tonight is going to go, what do you got, two games left and a magic number of 1. If they go 0-2, I don't think they're going to win it. You would have to have the Astros go 0-2, and you would have to have Cleveland go 0-2. Cleveland has the tiebreaker, so you're tied in the division, but they're ahead. Houston put themselves in a bad spot by losing that game last night, so we'll see. We'll see what happens on that. Let me enough there on the Tigers. We'll see what happens on the topic of. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead with the picks. And Luke, I'm mad at you, man. You didn't get your picks in time. So it's going to be me today, folks, and that might be a bad thing, because Luke, see, I'm going to say it when I'm wrong. Luke kicked my ass last week. I beat him in college. He kicked my ass in the pros. I'm going to give you the breakdown here, and this is not a typo. And my microphone is not AI where I'm going to say something different than what actually happened. I was 4-1 in college, this was the opposite. I'm way better in the pros. I'm mostly known for being props and parlay guy. But I can go on some runs. Last year, 17 in a row and 15 in a row. 4-1 in college. Luke went 3-2. So I got him by 1 game there. In the NFL, he went 7-1. He's smack dab 500. I'm not. I don't even know if I want to say this. 3-11-1. Now this is point spread picks. No money line, no under overs, no props, no parlays, none of that. Straight up picks. 3-11-1. I don't even know if that's ever happened, to be honest. I mean, why don't you just Paul, why don't you just close your eyes and throw a dart and hope? Because that's about what that was. So overall, excuse me, let me take a drink here because I think I'm drying up. So overall, he went 10-9-1, and I went 7-12-1. Whew, not good. Now it's down the wrong pipe. Sorry, guys. That's what happens when you talk for an hour and 8 minutes straight. And there's no one else that the camera's going to pan to. Sorry about that. So Luke will get his picks into me later on when he frees up. I'll get those up on the record, and they're all for NFL. So we're not going to let him cheat. I promise. And the college, we'll just let that go because the games start here in less than 2 hours. So this week's games, which I expect to do much, much better. And there's some doozies this week, no question. All right, let's do better. I got a lot of mixture this week too. I got favorites and I got dogs. So Minnesota with Carson Wentz at the helm at Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh stepped up last week. Minnesota stepped up in a huge way, 48-10 over. And I'm doing this on memory, so if I'm off a little bit, apologize. I have Minnesota going on the road and winning over Pittsburgh. minus 2.5. And when do you see a backup quarterback go on the road, particularly at Pittsburgh, and be minus 2.5? And these are lines from FanDuel, by the way. These are lines from FanDuel this morning, about 45 minutes before the show. Not only are the Vikings minus 2.5, that's minus 114. So that number looks to be like it will go to 3. So you're going to go in Pittsburgh against Aaron Rodgers and that team. Vegas sees something here. I see it as well. So I've got Minnesota minus 2.5. Philly and Tampa Bay. Interesting here. You see plus 3.5. I think that Tampa Bay should really never be an underdog of more than 3, no matter where they're playing. Tampa Bay, even without Mike Evans, they've got enough weapons over there. Plus 3.5, minus 115. So they're begging you to take Philly. Something looks off there to me. So I'm for Tampa plus 3.5 at home. This is a tricky one, and I actually skipped it for a moment, and I'll come back to that. So somebody light me up on the comments if I missed that. So up to the Browns and the Lions. I think I said 7.5 or 8.5 earlier. I was wrong. It's 9.5. And you'll see the minus 120 there, which means there's a very strong possibility it'll go to 10, minus 10. And that number will come down probably from minus 120 to minus 115 or minus 110. I'm going to go ahead with the Lions here. I just don't think that Cleveland can hold up offensively and match the Lions' production, particularly at home. And while their defense is basically ranked first overall right now, I don't think they're going to be able to keep up with that. Lions, too many weapons, too many ways to beat you, too many ways to score. So I do think that the Lions are 10 points or better, so take the Lions. Houston, which has just been, man, what a disappointment. Tennessee, this is a big line for Houston. Now, their defense is solid. Obviously, the Titans have a rookie quarterback, and they have not done very well at all. 7.5 points is a lot. You see the minus 122 there, which leans towards that number coming back down to about 7. The 7.5 number, they're begging you to take Houston at minus 7.5 plus 100. That 7.5 is a lot. So I'm going to go Titans plus 7.5 because Houston has had an enormous problem on offense, and I kind of see that continuing. So the Titans plus 7.5. Let's get to the next screen here. All right, Chargers and Giants, and this one, this one is tough for me because of my liking for Jackson Dart and me rooting for him, and then at the same time, I love Justin Herbert, have him as my number 3 quarterback in the NFL right now. I really want to see Jackson Dart do well. I really want to see Justin Herbert do well. Not a big Harbaugh guy. For those that follow me, know that. Those that don't, I don't like Jim Harbaugh. Used to love him. Don't like him anymore. So I just got to do the smart thing here, and I got to say the Chargers minus 6.5. That's a lot of points, and it would not surprise me if Jackson Dart steps up and has an awesome game, but I have to go with the Chargers. Minus 6.5, just a better overall team, more cemented, more chemistry, just better all around at this time. All right, so Chargers minus 6.5. Next game, Commanders and the Falcons. Boy, has Atlanta been disappointing. I really expected them to turn some things around. I have been on record saying Michael Penix will be a superstar. That's up on my prediction sheet on X. It's all over the place. He has not looked good. Admittedly, I don't think that'll stay that way long term. It is right now as he tries to break in. Commanders, no Jaden Daniels again. Marcus Mariota to start again. Minus 120, they are at plus 2.5. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go back to the well again. I'm going to take the Falcons. I'm going to take them at home on the quick track with Bijan and Drake London and Michael Penix slinging it, and Mooney and a number of guys. And Atlanta's defense, 30-0. What was it? 30-0 last week. What was that? By the way, was that Carolina the 85 Bears? Are you serious? The Carolina Panthers beat the Atlanta Falcons 30-0, and of course, I told everybody take the Falcons. That was over fast too. They weren't even in it. They were just, I don't know, sleepwalking. Never woke up that morning. They were there physically, but not mentally. I don't know what you would say, but that was just horrific. So, this challenges very back to the mental side. This challenges every man's, mental fortitude. Coming off a loss like that, coming at home, you don't want to lay an egg at home. Much as I love Washington, in particular Jaden Daniels, he's not playing. Dan Quinn, I'm a big fan, but I'm going to just go back to it. And if I'm wrong, I'll admit it. Falcons -2.5 at home. All right, the aforementioned Carolina Panthers against the Patriots. I'm a Mike Vrabel supporter. There's a lot of Billy Ball going on. Again, Josh McDaniels. It's so disappointing, in my opinion, that they are not using TreVeyon Henderson. That is another prediction that is up on my sheet. You can see it up on X, that TreVeyon Henderson would be equal to, if not better, than Ashton Giante. He's not getting the carries. They're all in on Ramondre Stevenson. I think it's a horrible, horrible move. They need to get TreVeyon Henderson on the frickin' field. I think it's too many points. Carolina obviously played a lot better last week. Maybe they're coming together. I did say Tata would be the best wide receiver in the draft, and him and Bryce Young have already showed a nice connection. And even though they're on the road, 5.5's a lot of points right now. Drake May has not developed, and I said that in the video on 2 days before the 2024 NFL draft, when he ended up being taken second. Was it second overall? Yeah, second overall before whatever. He was taken fourth. I didn't think he was all that, and he hasn't shown to be all that. A couple flashes, but nothing special. So Carolina plus the 5.5 at New England. Next game, boy, this is a tough one. The Rams lost in a very, very tough way last week. The Colts are on fire. Daniel Jones, boy, look at him. Amazing what, I guess, a change of scenery can do. I don't know that anybody ever thought that Daniel Jones would play like this. I don't think that everybody thinks that he's going to continue playing like this, but he is for right now, and it's exciting to see, and I'm happy for the guy. And that is another one that I said in the beginning of the year, or way before the beginning of the year when they got him. I knew that they got him with the intention of starting him. Anthony Richardson's not a quarterback in the NFL. He's not even a number 2. In my opinion, he should be converted to a tight end. I've been on record as saying that. 6'4", 245, great hands, great speed. Suit him up as a tight end. Put him opposite of Tyler Warren and let him go. He is not an NFL quarterback. This is Daniel Jones' team. Colts plus 3.5 at the Rams. I got to take the Colts to keep this up with the 3.5 in my pocket. I'm taking that all day. Next game, Jacksonville, and let me get this off the screen for a moment. Oops. Come on now. Jacksonville plus 3.5 against the 49ers. Brock Purdy is due to be back. But Jacksonville, another one of Luke's teams, and I support that. They have the right mixture now. Better coaching. Trevor Lawrence is healthy. I would roll. Bosa's gone now. He's out for the year. Blew his knee out. The Jags plus 3.5 is my prediction over the 49ers, even though it's in San Francisco. Plus 3.5. Take that hook, man. -120. That could end up back at 3. So if you're going early, I would get that extra half a point before it goes away. All right, moving on. Boy, this is an interesting one, huh? The Ravens at Kansas City. Xavier Worthy back healthy for Kansas City, which changes the dynamic totally for Kansas City. And you have Thornton over there, who was a stud coming out of college. Lightning speed. Hollywood Brown over there. You got Travis Kelce, who's sleepwalking, by the way, basically for 2 years now. I wonder why that is. They can't run the ball very well, but Patrick Mahomes is a difference maker with Andy Reid. They're at home. They play solid defensively. The Ravens have become they were a question mark for me going into the year, but I think that there's enough on the plate this year to show that there's maybe even more concern than many like me have thought. -2.5 at -118 shows that the lean is towards the Ravens, but I am sorry, I don't see it. While you might, conventional wisdom might think, the Ravens coming off tough loss on Monday night. Oh my gosh, they have to rebound. Well, you're playing the Chiefs on the road. with Xavier Worthy back, it's the Chiefs. All right. People don't like the Chiefs. There's a lot of exhaustion there because there's just been so much of them. It's getting similar to how New England was, not with the same degree of success, but Chiefs. People are tired of it. But don't let that steer you away from they're at home. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at this wrong. Why the hell? Holy cow. So the Chiefs are getting 2.5 at home. Are you kidding me? What in the world am I missing? That is not a typo. So the Ravens minus 2.5 at minus 118 on the road against the Chiefs, coming off a loss on a short week Monday night. Whoa. What in the world am I missing? Hey, if you know something out there and you want to drop a comment of what I'm looking at here, and if I'm missing something, how in the hell, with Xavier Worthy coming back, is Kansas City getting plus 2.5 at home at almost even money? That's wild. So Vegas thinks that the Ravens are going to essentially win outright. They're not even, it should be Kansas City -3. Huh. Tricked up. I'm going KC plus 2.5. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm you, I jump on that. You can even buy it up to 3. Wow. At minus 104 means you're probably minus 120 if you buy the hook and get up to 3. Interesting. Chiefs plus 2.5. All right, next one here. Bears and Ben Johnson against the Raiders. The Raiders, I said, would be the most improved team of 2025. Sure, the hell has not looked like that. Although Giante has looked a lot like what I thought he was going to look like. You're all world playing for Boise State. The whole entire offense is structured around you. You play very weak teams and you're getting 200 yards a game. And you come to the NFL and you get that famous phrase, welcome to the NFL, young man. I think he's averaging less than 3.5 yards a carry. And I don't expect that to change, folks. And you can point to the offensive line, but I think you can also point that Ashton Giante is not what people thought he was. And I could be wrong, but I don't think so. He looks slow. He looks slower. He looks, which is to be expected. You play at the NFL level. Speed is multiple levels up from college. What you did in college, you can't always do in the pros. Only the truly special can do that. I'm not convinced he is. He's small. He's getting blown up in the backfield blocking. He's just getting overwhelmed, overpowered. And while he's a tank and he's shredded and he's, basically granite, he's small. And I think you're going to see that continue to get exposed. And as much as I hate to say this, you got to take the Bears plus 1.5 at the Raiders. There's the heart that battles the mind. And my heart wants the Raiders to win this game, but my mind, if I'm going to tell somebody to go do something that involves entertainment purposes only and what comes with that, the right pick here is the Bears plus 1.5. All right, this next one is interesting. Both teams coming off a loss. And Green Bay coming off a loss to Cleveland. Dallas, you lost CeeDee Lamb. You got the Micah Parsons factor, and you got Jerry Jones. But there's just nothing this guy says or does that makes sense. We're not going to do a tribute to Micah Parsons because it's not warranted or it's not necessary or it wouldn't be appropriate. Really, Jerry? Says who? Maybe the Cowboy fans miss him. Maybe the Cowboy fans think that you'd be a better team with him. And anyone to suggest, I just think it's misguided. If you think that the Dallas Cowboys are a better team right now with 2 essentially end of the first round picks and Kenny Clark in the middle of your defensive line, who is basically having 0 impact as a Dallas Cowboy, and Micah Parsons is instantly created impact for the Green Bay Packers and did so for your team for 4 years. If you think you're better without Micah Parsons, you're crazy. Absolutely crazy. And you have 0 chance now as the Cowboys, even though your defense wouldn't be terrific with him, it would be much better than what it is. And offense is your identity. Offense is your strength to the team. At least you would have a chance in some of the games that you don't have a chance in now. And I don't think you have a chance in this game. I don't see Green Bay coming out and losing this game. The only question is, how much do they win by? So you're seeing -6.5 for Green Bay, -120, which means it's leaning towards going to 7. +6.5, the Cowboys. Imagine that. +6.5 at home. What does that tell you? I mean, that tells you CeeDee Lamb's out of the game, but that tells you more than that. And I would expect Green Bay to be back on point this week. This is a large line. There's just no two ways to say it. This is not a game that I would personally play. Honestly, if I'm being honest, not at that line. You look at the props for something like this, or you maybe look at the over-under. So I wouldn't recommend you just go run to the window and play this. But if I'm forced to make a pick, which I'm going to do here, I'm taking Green Bay -6.5. I think you'll see Dallas really struggle. Pickens is not a number one. He's never been a number one. Pittsburgh knew it. Mike Tomlin knew it. Now, Dallas, in fairness, they didn't get him to be a number one. They got him to be a top number two, which is what he can be. He proved to you last week what a important drop right there. That was terrible. And he's not going to be able to carry it. And number 2 and number 3 wide receiver over there, Jake Ferguson, nice tight end, Javonte Williams out of the backfield. I'm not sure that they can keep up. And defensively, I don't think they're going to be able to stop the Packers. Packers, a lot like the Lions, they can beat. They didn't do it last week. I got it. And they got shocked a little bit. I got it. But the Packers can beat you running. They can beat you passing. They can beat you all sorts of different ways. And now they can beat you defensively. So, I mean, Green Bay is a money line play for sure. I don't know what the numbers are on that. I wouldn't run to the window at 6.5, but I'll take Green Bay there. The Jets and Dolphins. We have 2 Monday night games again. Wow. I didn't realize that. So Justin Fields is questionable, I believe. I don't think he's playing again. However, it doesn't matter. The Miami Dolphins are in bad shape, and Aaron Glenn, little by little, look at what's happening and look at the way that it's happening. He's turning that franchise around. It's going to take some time. They've got pieces in there that he doesn't want. I don't believe Justin Fields is the long-term answer. In fact, I don't think they got him to be the long-term answer. I think they got him to be a short-term gap measure. He's an experienced NFL quarterback, although I don't think he's a starting NFL quarterback. I think he would be one of the best backups in the league, and I think that that's what he's most suited for. But quarterbacks don't grow on trees, so they went and got Justin Fields. The Dolphins are a disaster. There's no two ways. They were more competitive last week, but I wouldn't read too much into that. Mike McDaniel's also one of the guys on the prediction sheet prior to the season that he would be fired for sure at the end of the year, but that there was a very solid chance that he gets fired in the year. Now, they lose to the Jets at home. Okay, the Jets are an up-and-coming team, but they're not where the Dolphins are supposed to be and where McDaniels is supposed to have had that team. Jets beat him. I mean, I don't know how you keep that guy on Tuesday. I really and truly don't. So take the Jets +2.5. There is a chance that the Dolphins could win this game just because the Jets are still lagging, but they're improving. But Miami's just not very good. Just simply put, are not a good team. So I'm going to just go out on a limb and take the Jets +2.5. And you see the Dolphins, their typical line at home +3. They got them hanging at 2.5, but it's -120. So that could go to 3. And I would take the 3, buy it up 2.5 to 3 just to be safe. But the Jets there. All right, Bengals and Broncos to round it out last game. I am a huge Bo Nix guy. On record that 2 days before the 2024 draft about him, as well as the day that he got drafted, a day after when it was that he got drafted with Sean Payton, I said that Bo Nix would be better than Drew Brees. Yes, I did say that. He has more tools and more skills than Drew Brees. He's with Payton, a more experienced Payton. He's in Denver, and they're building something there. And the Bengals are a disaster, might be the worst team in football, certainly in the conversation. And in my opinion, they were before the year, even with Burrow. And I had said that the disaster with Shamar Stewart, disaster with Trey Hendrickson, absolutely one of the worst signings I have ever seen in my life. Why you would go give T. Higgins $30 million or whatever he got, crazy salary, and devote $126 million to Joe of 1 year's cap, $126 million to Burrow, Chase, and Higgins when you have no offensive line, and it reared its ugly head again. And now your quarterback, who you have all that money invested in and who you appeased because he wanted Higgins to be signed, is now on the shelf for what, 8-9 weeks again? And you got waxed 48-10 because you still don't have a defense. You still don't have a running game. You still don't have an offensive line, but you're spending all this money on skilled positions. It makes no sense. It's Mike Brown to a T. Mike Brown needs to be replaced the same way William Clay Ford did for the Lions, the same way Martha Firestone did for the Lions. And you need to get somebody in there that is not on a power-hungry trip, that is willing to give solid football people the reins to make football decisions. Cincinnati, Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland, you're actually, I think you might be ahead of Cincinnati now, if we're being honest. The Bengals, if you're a Bengals fan, my cousin is a huge Bengals fan. Shout out to you, Catherine's cousin, my wife's cousin. Huge Bengals fan. You're going to get blitzed. You're going to get blitzed again this week. I'm sorry to tell you, in Denver against a very improving team. You're not going to be able to keep up. People thought that Jake Browning was going to come in and he was going to be this world savior. Listen, if Jake Browning was all that what people think he is or what they believed he could be, he would have already been snatched by another team as the number one. He's not a number one. He's a number two, and you can argue number three. He's not going to put this team on his back because he's got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. You don't have an offensive line either. If you were maybe solid there, you can make an argument that he can hold the fort down. But he's not holding any fort down, and I think that was proven last week when you lost by 38 points. You were never in the game. And by the way, if you can't get the ball to Jamar Chase or even to T. Higgins consistently, what's the point? And if you can't stop another team, which they couldn't last year or the year before, if you can't stop a team from getting 35 and you have to outscore, which we talked about this preseason, you got to win games 38-35, 45-38, whatever, 45-41. I mean, you don't have a team. That's not a team. That's an experiment. It doesn't work. I mean, this isn't like, appease the fans and try to score the most point. You want to win? They don't have the formula to win. And they did it with Burrow. They sure as hell don't with Browning. I'll take Denver minus the 7.5. A lot of points on Monday night. But it is at home. And I'm not going against. I wouldn't recommend going against Sean Payton and Bo Nix. So expect the Broncos to win by at least 10. And the Bengals misery and the misery of the fans to continue. All right, so I promised a couple of things here to kind of give a little bit of a behind the scenes from the past 52 weeks, the past year, and then kind of what some of the plans are for the next 52 weeks. And there's something exciting kind of on the burner, and it got put on the, it was on the front burner, and it got put to the back burner. I'll share as much as I can about that. I can't tell all of that, but I'll get to that in a minute. So some discussion about the past 52 weeks. So in the past 52 weeks, I think it was 4 weeks of shows that we actually missed, and things went on a hiatus for multiple reasons, and one of which is that I was in the process of transitioning from living full-time, part-time originally, Michigan and Florida, to moving full-time from Michigan to Florida, as well as closing a business that I had very successfully for 10 years, or the better part of 10 years. Legally, I can't speak to the reasons why at this time. It was acquired, at least the digital assets were acquired by another company, a very wonderful company. Some horrific things were done to our company. Again, legally, I can't speak to it, and to the individuals who sabotaged the company. I'll leave it at that. But in the midst of all of that, there was a lot of transition that took place, and my wife and I ended up living full-time in Florida, or now are full-time in Florida. This was the studio in my Michigan building that was a dream come true. for the very first show, which was September 4th, 2024, this was all in place. Customized roofing that you see there, the whole customized studio that you see there, 4 chairs, 4 microphones, and was building the decoration in the background and getting that to grow. And there was more in the plans, and the shirts that you see there, that wasn't always there, but that was when we did a shirt run of a bunch of different colors, and we just kind of threw it on there for display, but fully customized. That's a 550 square foot closed off part of a 2,000 square foot office. Was so excited. And then, life changes and things happen, and I couldn't get those pieces to Florida. I got the mics, I got the chairs. Obviously I don't have that space. We're in a makeshift space currently. I don't have that beautiful desk and beautiful setup. I always wanted a sports center type of desk where I can have multiple people in, whether it was 1 or 2, or in this case, could be 4. And for the other business, we did have that. It had multiple uses, and we were able to do things with the signs. And then there was another area in there where we would host podcast shows for the senior business that I was in. And so this broke my heart, and it's still hard for me to look at this and what was built and a dream come true like that. And then you kind of don't have that anymore. And then I took one of the pieces to Florida, had a vehicle to transport it to Florida, and I had one of those sections of that booth, and it didn't make it in one piece. And we haven't attempted to put it back together. There's some construction to it that needs to take place. I hope to be able to get that back. I hope to be able to get the whole studio back at some point in time. When that is, I don't know. A lot of it will depend on the popularity or even lack thereof that happens with the show, the growth of the show. What happens with it will determine if we're able to get something like this back. It was just, literally just got to that, and that had been in place for, I don't know, 4 months, about 4 months or so. Had several shows there, but that was there, and now it's not. The sign behind me, that's the same sign. This is the same microphone, the same headset, the same football behind me here. So we'll continue to build on it. You see a coffee cup in the back right-hand corner there that somehow ended up in that picture. I try to keep the coffee cups out of the picture. I have less Lions memorabilia, which breaks my heart. We got a little bit over here with the Lions football and the Lions hat behind me. Can't see it with what I have up there now, but that's part of the history of the show. Normally you would have that at this point in time, but I went for it. I went aggressively for it because it served not only the PB Sports Talk vision, but it also served the purpose of other things that we were doing with another company that was doing really, really well with it. But then the transition happened and I couldn't take it with. So that's 2 different pictures there to show. And I aspire and strive to get that back when the time is right. We'll go for it. Here's another one here. You can actually see the color, the lighting and how that's changed over time. I'm much more bright now than it was there. There's a lot of yellow going on there. And that's part of the maturity of the technology that you integrate. And so we've fortunately been able to improve on that. There's some lag on the screen right now, which I'm still not happy about it. The technology that we use has outgrown the system that we have, and resources just aren't there at this time to be able to upgrade those. We're working on that, and we hope to acquire some funding and some popularity here over the next couple of months. And I'll get to one of the things that might be able to help us in that regard here in a moment. But you can just kind of see the evolution of it and how it takes place. And one of the things that everybody doesn't see behind the scenes is to produce a show like this, even if you have multiple people, which I did back then. I had a lot of people back then doing graphics. I wasn't doing any of the setup. And if I'm being totally honest, all credit goes to them. They were doing the setups, the pre-setup for the show. They did all of the graphics. They'd get all the screens set up, how I can shift to screens.
multiple screens here and go back and forth and upload all of the graphics you see. They created the graphics, they uploaded the graphics, they'd get everything ready. And then I would have all the research for the show, and I was the creative behind it. The creative meaning, here's exactly what I'd like. Please create this in this format, in this way, and I want to be able to pop it up on the screen, this. And they would create all that, take what was in my mind, they would create it, they would get it loaded up. I would have my data, my statistics, my research, and I would get behind the mic, but it would be ready for me. And so when I closed that company and I had 16, 17 employees, and I had 2 or 3 working on this with me week to week, without them anymore as of beginning of February, end of January, this has been mostly a one-man show, and I'll get into the Luke part here in a few, but a one-man show to produce this. And I had always been the creative guy. I had always been the person that could just let it come from my mind, and I would get it to paper and I would say, please create this. And then we would tweak it and we would revise it and get to the final product. So that was my vision mostly, and creativity to it. Like even in the sign there, those are, sports idols of mine over the years for different reasons. They were inspiration for me as a coach and in doing what I do now. I learned a lot about life from a lot of those individuals as well. So I had to learn how to not just be the creative person, but I had to learn how to create all the graphics. So it's not easy to get up and speak like this. It's not easy to do live shots, even the recording shots. This is one take. If I screw up, I screw up. If I cough and choke and need to drink water, that's what happens. And so it's not easy to do. And though I had a lot of speaking experience and was 35-year entrepreneur and had all of this background in speaking, when you do it in this format, it's not easy to do. I've seen people that I tried to have on a show totally freeze and run out of the building, literally run out of the building, didn't tell anybody. And we're like, where did that person go? I saw that happen. I saw other people get on. Peter, shout out to you. Luke, you've done a hell of a job. People that could get on and can do it. Peter has a lot of experience in speaking and in business and talking to people, and was able to get on and not miss a beat. Daniela Gilardi, Miss Bag Toss, a wonderful cornhole player, a professional cornhole player, got on, done a hell of a job. A lot of people can't do it. It's not easy, folks. I don't really use scripts. I do very little show preparation, if I'm being honest. Some of the statistic stuff, yes, but show prep in terms of how I lay out the show, there's an order, and that's usually on the one main graphic, but it's just like I go with it. It's a lot of ad lib. It's a lot of what's going on, what's hot, what's not. There's a lot of it that comes to my mind as I'm going. Again, there's a general overall understanding and preparation of what I'd like to get out, but a lot of times it takes on, a path a little bit, sometimes too long, but a path to make it interesting is I want it to be fresh. I don't want it to be scripted. I want it to be authentic and real and not overproduced. So a one-man operation that is doing, most of the speaking, that's doing all of the graphics, that's doing all of the creation to get this to come on live, all of that imaging that needs to be not only created, but uploaded in a certain order, and understanding how all of the software works. I didn't do any of that in the early days. That started about week 24, about, 25, 26. It happened in the middle of this. That I just like, all right, so if you got to continue, you better learn. And that's part of why there was a 4 or 5 week gap. Just like a smack in the face, and you don't have the people that you counted on that were amazing at doing it and could take my thoughts and get it to screen. And then it's like, all right, so if you want this dream to continue, if you want to have anything look halfway professional, well, you better start learning. And so every single day became an experiment. It became a new test, and I love new tests and challenges. That's just kind of who I am. I love to solve problems. I love to learn things. I love to create. And if I wanted to continue this, boy, I had to learn, and I had to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I had to figure it out, and that took some time, and it took practice, and it took not just practice, but it took If you look at some of the graphics around February and you look at some of the graphics now, that's been a process. What is that? 7 months? Is 7? Yeah, about 7, almost 8, next week be 8 months of the 12 creating the graphics on my own. And you learn and you grow and you get better and you learn new things. And I've been able to bring a lot of that to light and be able to do even things like this. You got to learn how to do all of that. I didn't know how to do any of that or this here. General framing I had from the girls before, but all of these graphics, all of these people put in, I had to learn how to do all of that. So it has been a tough process. And I had a newfound respect for the people that do this. I'm not an influencer. I don't view myself as that. I view myself as a talk show host and a sports geek. But I used to what are these influencers doing? Make fun of them. Like, that's easy, man. I want that life. Oh, this, that. And even my wife, sorry, honey, she'd say it too. What do these people do all day? It's freaking hard. And in the sports world, it never stops. Like, I don't cover the Korean stuff and the soccer stuff that happens overnight. But if you want to have any understanding of what is going on, it's not football. It's nonstop, whether it's a trade, whether it's an injury, games go late at night, West Coast games tonight, like as an example. There's games that start at 10 p.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Eastern. Last week, Michigan State, USC started at 11 p.m. Eastern. If you want to know anything that's going on in the next day, you either got to be up for some of that. You got to be up overnight. You're looking at your phone constantly. Shams Charania, I always get his name screwed up, an NBA beat reporter or NBA reporter for ESPN. He says he's had to walk out of dates, walks around with 2 phones. Says, I'm not him. I'm not saying I'm him. But he's got to be on, and the phone's going off constantly. I've got to be on X. I got to be on Facebook. I got to be on this site, that site, following all of this stuff. Who got hurt? Who said what? Why did they say it? And you got to dig and you got to dig. And I like to try to be accurate, right? You want to come on here and have an idea what the hell it is you're talking about and don't look like a complete ass for the world to see. And then this stuff is up there forever. And, we get tens and tens and tens and tens. It's basically like 2 million hits a month we get on our stuff now. And it's not the live show per se, but it's how the show gets broken up, which that's another thing. I had to learn how to do all that, all the cutting, all the editing. It's a process and it's not easy. And shout out to all the people out there who do it. And shout out to all the people out there who started as I'll just for now, it's a 1-person operation. Now, Luke has come on. He's been a big part of what we're doing. Luke is a highly decorated 2-time all-state sports player, former sports, 1 in football, 1 in basketball, was a state champion quarterback, went and broke records in college as a quarterback, has unique insight, unique perspective that's different than mine. He's half my age. He's 26. I'm 53. He's obviously a different generation that can, just on that basis, can bring different perspective. But it was just 2018, so 7 years ago or so, 7, 8, that he had all of that success in high school. And then in college, it's only a few years removed from that or so. So Luke's been a big part. 8, 9 shows I think he's been on. Him not being here today is no signal that that's not continuing. This was a pre-planned. It just happened to land, unfortunately, on the 1-year anniversary. That sucks. Sometimes things are beyond our control, but he'll be back next week. And I'm excited about that. He played for me. We have a unique chemistry. I'm excited about the future of it. We're getting him more and more involved. Luke is kind of that on the fence kind of guy, and he's afraid to go too far or hesitant to go too far in his predictions or his takes, and working on that with him and getting him to say, pick a side and go on that side. If you look great, great. If you look foolish, well, you look foolish. That's the fun of it. That's part of what makes this fun. And that's part of what I love to follow. All right, I went and put myself out there. Am I going to end up being correct or close to correct? Or am I going to have to come out and just take a freaking pan of eggs and put them all over my face? That's happened. That's kind of the fun part about it. But generally, when I give these predictions, which are becoming more and more known, it's kind of what has put us on the map. The Shedeur Sanders prediction, the Jaden Daniels prediction, still a lot of this is still in motion. The Lions prediction, some of the innate ability to predict things before they happen and then have them happen. People are like, wow, how did you do that? So that I hope will continue. Jackson Dart's a big part of that. JJ McCarthy and the prediction about him is a big part of that. Michael Penix, Tata McMillan is a big part of that. The Lions going to the Super Bowl within 5 years is a big part of that. Hopefully these continue. And that's the thing, folks. It's like you get on a platform like this, everybody has one of these now. Everybody can have one of these. You need a closet and you need, just a couple things. You can do it on a small level. You don't need a big mixer like I have here. I have a 32-inch screen in front of me right now, plus a laptop on the side. You don't need all of that to do this. You can start out on a shoestring. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody can get a microphone. So what is our calling card? It is overall knowledge about sports as a former coach and how I can talk from a lens. I have a lot of speaking experience, so I hope that comes through and that you enjoy this. Luke's experience as a former highly decorated high school and college player, and then the unique chemistry that we have because he played for me. And I was the first coach that challenged Luke and started to break some of the terrible habits that he had. And I had known about Luke and had watched Luke. He was in the school that I was at. As I was coming up to the top job of the school, he was coming up at the same time. And I said, if I ever get that guy, I got to break some things because he's got it. He's got skills. He's got the talent, but I got to get the mental side. And so we have a unique background together. And you take all of this and converge together. Luke was the perfect guy. And it was the perfect complement to what I was trying to accomplish and what I was trying to be unique and be different about. Neither one of us played pro ball, but Luke, and it's on X, Luke played against Sauce Gardner and Luke played against Aiden Hutchinson. And there's a video up on the site, up on the page and at PB Sports Talks on X of Luke throwing a 50-yard touchdown pass, and Aiden Hutchinson absolutely lights him up right after he releases the ball. And he played against Sauce Gardner as a quarterback, right? Sauce Gardner's trying to stop him. So it's really, really a cool thing, and we're excited to continue that. And there's a lot of things being talked about behind the scenes to help the next 52 weeks. So here's an interesting story. I cannot yet mention who it is. There are 3 major people that I'm in talks with. 2 are to come on our show. One is a famous broadcaster, very famous. I won't give that much of a hint, but he's very well known. He's been a studio guy and he's been a live main broadcaster, not the color guy, but the actual person who's running the number one spot. A lot of respect for him. He's a legend, a Hall of Famer. Things kind of got away in terms of schedule. Was supposed to get him on before the season started, but I look forward to that. I'm in regular contact with him and we go back and forth. So I look forward to that. The other is a former NFL quarterback who has his own show. I've had some conversation with him, and we stay in touch. And I expect that to happen here pretty soon in the next not too distant future. And here's the one that's really, really interesting. On September 10th, this September 10th, so 15, 16 days ago, whatever it is, at 9:42 in the morning, this gentleman, I'm going to remain nameless right now, but has a national show, very well known. He's been on all the massive networks, has his own show, 1 million plus followers, reached out at 9:42 a.m. And we've been following each other for a while. And I think he's really intrigued by the Shedeur Sanders predictions and how I picked him in the 5th round and how every step of the way, each prediction, he would be a backup. He would never accept being a backup. Now, 2 days ago, he comes out and he's voicing his frustration now. I talked about his father and what a problem he was, and he comes out and says what he says a couple of days ago, and then Shedeur comes out and his frustration is coming out. And I think he was very intrigued by this as well as some other things. And he said, I want to have you on the show. I'm going to have a producer reach out. This is him reaching out to me via messaging on X at 9:42 on September 10th. And he says, I want to have you on the show the next few shows. I'm going to have a producer reach out to you. Keep an eye out. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. This is a big moment, right? This is like, okay, you're getting a little bit of recognition, he follows you, and I got the chills again. It's like, this is maybe a moment to really take the next step. And not but 4 hours later ish, Charlie Kirk is assassinated essentially on live television. And it's been a process since then. Obviously that goes to the forefront. His show is multiple topics. He started out as a sports only guy, but now has a show that delves into sports and pop culture, I guess you would say, and to some degree politics. But I was going to be a guest for the sports part of it. And that obviously got put on hold as those shows that I was supposed to be on in the next few all changed because of what happened in our world and how we were all so devastated to see that. And all the coverage that has come on for 2 straight weeks on that fills up those gaps. So I'm in constant contact, and I'm trying to get that done. And I've learned this too by studying a lot of the podcasters. Sometimes it takes months. You think you have a deal in place to get somebody on, or you're going to be on somebody's show. Things happen. I mean, it's not often something like Charlie Kirk happens where it just changes everything. And you suddenly, you're slotted in, or you're going to be slotted in, and suddenly, boop, you fall down. And for the other 2 gentlemen, as well as, and I think I'm comfortable in saying this one, Tommy Hearns over my shoulder here, who was famous at the Kronk Gym with Emmanuel Stewart. I've had conversations with Kronk about having one or more of their guys on to talk a lot about the 4 Kings and Tommy Hearns and Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran, who Tommy fought all of them, some of them multiple times, Roberto Duran twice, Sugar Ray Leonard twice, and Marvin Hagler in the war in 1985. It was good. Al Bernstein, who called that fight with Al Michaels, just recently started following me. Excited about that. Legendary voice. Love Al Bernstein. Love his calls, his color on boxing. That means a lot because I grew up watching Al Bernstein with my father. That's really, really special. And Al's delving a little bit more opinion into other sports besides boxing. So excited about that. Maybe we'll have Al on the show one day. Matter of fact, I'll reach out to Al, and I did. I'll reach out again, see about having Al come on and talk about boxing. For those of you who are boxing fans, maybe I keep on going over the wrong shoulder. If you were maybe a Tommy Hearns fan, or I've lost a lot of the more recent boxing is, to me, not the same as it once was. Maybe that's just me, or maybe it's just time and evolving, and you take interest into other things. But I don't think boxing is what it once was. UFC's kind of taken over a lot of that. But I'd love to get Al's take on the past and the present, and even on the future of the sport. He's just a great guy for that. So I'll work on that. And there's a full list of people that I have regular interaction with that I have not yet, but I would love to have on the show. These guys are busy. They got so much stuff going on. I'm a small guy. But for those of you who know me, and one of my friends, he says, you're a fighter, man. You'll get through anything. Another one of my dear friends, Tommy, I love you. He said, you're a resourceful mother effer. He told me one time. And so I don't take no too well. I will keep up with these people. I want to bring the best to you. I added Luke to this because I felt Luke would give a different perspective. I don't want to get up here like this all the time and talk, honestly. A lot of people do, but honestly, I don't. I don't have a big enough ego for that. And who the hell wants to watch me alone for 2 hours? I want to have guests on the show. I want to have interaction on the show. Luke is obviously on every week's show, minus today, because it isn't all about me. When I said in the beginning that this is about the fans, this was all about you. Now, you have to start and speak yourself for a while, because you got to get it up off the ground, and you got to hope that, maybe people take your perspective seriously enough to want to watch. And you better have something that differentiate yourself a little bit, because there's so many options and there's only so much that people's minds and time can span to watch. So again, thank you. The last 52 years has been 52 years. Well, that's almost my age, 53, excuse me. The last 52 weeks has been a privilege. It honestly has been a dream come true. I absolutely love doing this. I love sports. I love talking sports. At 19, I went and toured right after my father passed away. It was 1989. He passed away in October, and I was 17 years old. Just to give this a quick story here, it was, I believe, March of the following year. I toured Specs Howard Broadcasting, I believe in Southfield, Michigan. I think that's where it's located or was located. I don't know if it's still there. But one of the world's most well-known broadcasting schools, where a lot of people go for their degree to learn on how to enter the business and learn everything about, filming, what I'm doing now, all of it. And in 1989 or 90, if it clicked over, my dad was October of 89. Gosh, it's going to be his 36th year anniversary on October 20th. So less than a month. That's how long ago this is. 36 years-ish. 35 from the time that I toured Specs Howard at 19, 18. Maybe I was 18. And it was $8,200 for an 8-month course in 1989 or 1990. And we had just lost my father, and there was just no way. There was no way it could be afforded, but I learned a lot. And I remember this as if it was yesterday. In conversation with them and there shortly thereafter, if anybody knows anything about Michigan and the areas surrounding Michigan, I learned what they paid when you start out. And for all of Terry Foster and Wojo and Jennifer Hammond and Matt Derry and Jeff Rieger and all these, Sean Belizean, all these guys who've been in the broadcasting, the late Jamie Samuelson, all of those folks, and Mike Valeni, all of the Terry Foster, all the folks that have lived in this industry and made a life and built families, and what they went through to build their careers, and a lot of moving and jumping. You got to go through it all. Back then, it's different now with a podcasting show. There's different things you can do to try to monetize a show. But if you wanted to start out, what they told me in 1989 or 90 was, if I got a job, go get the degree, and if I got a job in broadcasting, that I would likely get positioned in one of three places: Grand Rapids, Lansing, or Saginaw. And the starting rate would be about $5.30 an hour. $5.30 an hour. That's 1989, 1990. So you're going to spend about $8,200 or $8,500, something like that, to go get a job that was going to pay you at the time. And I understand inflation and all that. Things weren't expensive back then as they are now. Do all of that to go get a job for $5.10 or $5.30, whatever it was. That's what folks that went through the traditional pathway of broadcasting went through. Holy shit. Props to those folks. You have to, again, it's different now, but you have to absolutely love what you do and be so committed and have such a passion for sports to go through that. And a lot of them had to take on a second gig and a third gig to make it all make sense and make it all add up. And so fortunately, I guess in a way, that I didn't go that route. And life took me another way, and entrepreneurship and that. But I guess I was honing the ability to speak and ability to speak to the audience, and develop the creativity and develop the knowledge about sports to be able to, 35 years later, be able to do this. It's really a crazy story. And for those, I'll just end it with this. For those that don't know my life story, this is also up on X. In 2016, I nearly died. I entered a coma at 44 years old. I had a 3-week hospital stay. And inside of that 3 weeks, I entered the hospital with thyroid storm. If anybody knows what that is, generally when you enter thyroid storm, you don't come out. Most people don't make it. that is your thyroid is so damaged and your body is going through this storm. And what can happen from that is complete and total heart failure, along with a whole bunch of other things. And so I entered the hospital with 190 blood pressure, just under 200, a resting heart rate of 153. I'll never forget those numbers. We rushed me to the hospital because I wasn't taking care of my thyroid. I had hyperthyroidism. I was on and off taking the medicine because the medicine made me very heavy, made me very bloated. I didn't like that. And then I liked losing weight and transparency, because that's what we try to do here. I wasn't taking the medicine properly and it caught up, and I was warned about it. And I was told, if you stop this medication, if you don't start taking your medication, or you don't get the iodine treatment and have your thyroid obliterated, so that there is no more thyroid, and then you take a drug called Synthroid or levothyroxine to fool your body into thinking that there is a thyroid there, you're going to have a heart attack and you might die. Boy, were they right. So at the end of February of 2016, it got to the point where my heart was racing out of my chest. We did, a pulse reading. It was at 128, 130 at the time. We rushed me to the hospital. We get in there. They fire me down the hall. Or first they took an EKG. And then once they saw what the EKG reading was, they threw me in a wheelchair. When I say threw me, they basically threw me. And then when I tell you race me down the halls, I'm coherent. I'm alert. I could see. I'm aware of what's going on, but I'm scared to death. And now I'm being flown down the hallway, raced like a race car in a wheelchair. And the walls are going by, and I'm seeing radiology and different departments. And then I see trauma unit. And they wheel me in there, and I see all these people, all these nurses. I believe at the time, I believed that they were nurses and doctors. And they get me up on a gurney. They bring paddles out. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Why did you just do that? Why did you put those paddles up here? Well, Mr. Burkhart, you might code at any moment. I'm like, what? I say, what? Yeah, you might go into cardiac arrest at any moment. Well, look, what are you talking about? I'm 44 years old. I'm tired. I'm really tired. I know something's wrong, but what do you mean I might go into cardiac arrest and die, and you might have to put paddles on my chest and go clear? Boom. Yeah, that's what was happening. I got all these people running at me. One's grabbing one arm, one's grabbing the other arm. They're putting IVs in me. They're getting x-ray films out and getting needles out, and they're ready to, the IVs connected to a bag, and then someone's getting this long-ass needle out, and they're going to start putting it in. What's going on? My wife's in tears. My girlfriend at the time, she's in tears. She's scared to death. Am I dying? What's going on? I'm exhausted. I feel like I ran a marathon. How do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel? I think I'm okay. That's what I'm saying. I think I'm okay. I just feel tired. I feel like I ran a marathon, and I'm like got anxiety, and I know I can feel the palpitations. I don't know if you can see this. It's like this in my chest. Can you see that? Boom, 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 boom. Like at that speed. And they're like, you're in thyroid storm. And it's very serious. And here's the thing that's, other than seeing my girlfriend at the time crying as she was, which freaked me the frig out, because you're in this, it's almost this Twilight Zone experience. You're seeing all this go on. It's like a movie before your eyes. You see the person you love is hysterical, is in tears, and you're like, are they seeing something that I don't feel? It's this, they know I'm dying and I don't know I'm dying. What is this? Like, it's an out of body type of experience. And the one that concerned me the most was the ER doctor. He's on the phone. He's going behind this plexiglass, and he's walking around, and he's got his hands on his hips, and he's in this thought, like he's trying to figure something out. He goes on the phone. He's talking to somebody who's talking to somebody. And then he comes out, and we have to do this and this. I'm going to give you this right now, and we have to get your heart rate down, or you're going to code. So they got x-rays going on. They're taking film. Got me, I think it was three IVs, 2 on one arm, 1 on the other. And we're going to inject you with this to calm you, to bring your heart rate down so you don't code and go into cardiac arrest. Okay. And they do. And I start to calm. No more palpitations. I think they're getting more comfortable with the heart rate and such. The rest is long, so I'm going to shorten it at this point. And it's just like, it's amazing how life throws curves at you. And I say every single week, and it's what inspired me to say it at the end of every show. Every week, I say, hug someone, hold someone, love someone. Life is short. I lost my father. I was 17. He was 45. I'm 44 at the time. I'm like, I'm not even going to make it to as far as my father was. How can this be? These are all the thoughts, going through my mind. It was going through my girlfriend's mind. It's like, what the hell? Is this it? Man, this was it? It's time to check out. I'm going to see my pops. I'm going to see other people I love that are no longer here. So when I say it's a dream, this is a dream come true. And it's a dream I want to continue to live. It's a dream I want to continue to pursue because there's other steps to it. It's not like get to here and it's over. I want to excel at this. I want Luke to excel at this. I want together us to take this wherever it can go. And I invite you all to come along for the road or for the ride. Come on the road with us. And I'm going to start getting emotional here now in a moment. Ugh. And for any of you out there who are seeing this, you're in this world, you're in the podcast world, you're in the sports world. I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about having you on the show. I want to hear your story. I want to talk about you and your path, and I want to help others that maybe aspire to do the same thing, that maybe they think that it's not possible, or maybe they went through something I went through, whether that's health-wise like I did, or maybe 40, 35 years ago, they thought about getting in this business and now they really want to get into it and help the next person do it. And the great Zig Ziglar always said, the late great Zig said, help enough others get what they want. And ultimately, your life will be complete. And so that's what my life is all about. I love to help other people. I love to bring awareness to other people in a number of different ways. And so my journey has been crazy. I feel like I've lived 5 lives, if I'm being honest. And your life flashes before your eyes. And just to tell you the last tidbit of that piece, I was in full thyroid storm. I developed sepsis, pneumonia, had a heart attack while I was under the thyroid storm. As I said, I had to have my thyroid removed, which was the second largest that the surgeon who was nationally renowned that came in to do this surgery because it was so complicated. And you go on the table and many times you don't, this type of surgery. And my body, I had, like I said, went through sepsis, pneumonia, thyroid storm. I fell out of bed and had staples in the back of my head. I was a mess. And they took huge risks to operate on me. I basically had no other options but to do it. It was about a 60-40 chance, 65-35 chance to survive. If I bled a lot, they could lose me right on the table. And I was told of that. But I weighed options, which there were no other real options. And fortunately, they did an amazing job. And you can see the pictures of me in a coma and the pictures of the day that I came home, I think it was 3 weeks and 2 days. It escapes me a little bit. Mid-March after going in late February. And so that was part of what inspired me to do this, because you don't know when your time is up. And I'm a dreamer by nature, but I'm an executor, meaning I don't just think about things. I don't just set goals. I like to go execute them. And I like to constantly be challenged. And this was a big challenge. And it was like, man, you're getting older. You almost died. You better do this. And PB Sports Talk was born. The PB is actually the initials for my name. I'm sure most of you figured that out by now. And I wanted to go for it. And I don't like regrets. And I just never wanted to look back for as long as I'm on this earth and say, I woulda, coulda, shoulda, if, maybe. Man, if I could only go back. I don't like that. It's one of my biggest fears is I try a lot of things. Some work, some don't work. And I don't want to be one of those people, no matter if it works or it doesn't, or no matter what pain comes if it doesn't work. I just never want to be one of those people that thought about it and didn't do it because of fear, or because somebody said you shouldn't or couldn't or wouldn't or don't or whatever. Man, if I listened to those people, I'd have never done nothing in my life. I've had so many people So many people try to tear me down, and some did it successfully. And when the time comes right, I will let that out, and I will expose who those people are that threatened my wife's life and threatened my life. I will discuss that. I will openly expose who those people are and what they did. And that's a promise. And if you see this, that's a promise. It's not over. And why that business is no longer around and what you people did. I will expose that when I legally can, which is not that far. What people are willing to do to tear you down versus what they're willing to do to help you. And I don't like that. I don't like people like that. I like to help people. And so in some way, like Luke, and this is evolving into something for him. I want to help Luke. I want to help Luke. He loves sports. He has passion for this. He loves talking about it. He's geeky like me. He's at a high school football game every Friday night, basically. And it's like anything that I can do to impact somebody's life in some kind of way is my goal. My life's incomplete if I'm not helping as many people as I can for as long as I can, for as long as I'm here. So again, what a ride for 52 weeks. We look forward to the next 52. Hopefully it's more than that. And hopefully if you're not following us, you do today. At PB Sports Talks with an S on X, or our Facebook page, which is without the S, at PB Sports Talk. There's some other stuff in the mix. Our shows are live every Saturday, just like this at 10 o'clock. I've gone a little bit long now. They usually go 2 hours max. But this is kind of a special edition, one year edition. And without Luke on the show today, it gave me an opportunity for you folks to get to know a little bit more about me. And this will be cut up into a lot of parts, and it will be put out there. So again, from the bottom of my heart, honestly, thank you. This truly means a lot to me. And I hope you're enjoying it. And I'm always open to your comments. Hit me up on X. Instant message me. You want me to talk about something that I'm not doing? Want me to do less of something that we're doing that maybe doesn't hit right? I'm open. I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And we're not the smartest guys in the room. Maybe there's something where we can do better. Even the real successful podcasters out there that I know that follow. I'd love it, man. I'd love to pick your brain. I'd love to learn from you. And maybe there's something I can do to help you folks. So I'm going to start crying again. So again, everybody, thank you. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy your family. Aspire to be greater. Aspire to go higher. Don't ever let anybody tell you you can't, or you shouldn't, or you won't. Because if I did, this 52 weeks would have never happened. I promise you. There are so many people that told me I was crazy. And it's nothing big. It hasn't exploded in any way. It's growing, but it hasn't exploded. Don't listen to people that try to tear you down. If you believe in something, go for it. Put your best foot forward and go for it. But most importantly, today, hug somebody, hold somebody, love somebody. Life is short. There's only one to live. You can't go back. It almost ended for me 11 years ago. Put your best foot forward every day. Love you all. Thank you again. We'll talk to you again next week. Luke will be back. We look forward to it. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.